The financial system is not what you think it is. It doesn't exist to make you rich, to protect your savings, or to give you opportunity. No, it's a mirror, reflecting not just your account balance, but your discipline, your fears, and most dangerously, who truly controls you. Banks, markets, taxes, credit, they look like neutral tools, but they're not. They're levers. And if you don't see how these levers are used to pull you into dependence, you'll be manipulated by them while believing you're free. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, long before modern banking or stock exchanges existed. To him, gold coins, trade routes, and royal treasuries weren't just about wealth. They were about influence, the quiet power to bend others without ever lifting a weapon. And he would tell you today, the smartest player in the financial game isn't the one earning the most. It's the one who can't be cornered by the system itself. If you don't learn how to outsmart the financial system, your life will never truly be yours. You'll work, save, spend, all inside an architecture you don't control. If you think simply earning more is enough, you've already lost. Because if your wealth can be frozen, taxed away, inflated into worthlessness, or redefined by a policy you didn't vote for, you don't own it. You rent it. And the landlord is the system itself. The stakes couldn't be higher. Fail to understand how money operates in the modern age, and you'll spend your life chasing comfort someone else can take away in a moment. Outsmart it, however, and you'll build the one thing the system cannot easily strip from you: independence. Not the kind you post online, but the kind you feel when you can walk away from any deal, job, or threat without shaking. Rule 1. The financial system doesn't give you power, it reveals it. Machiavelli's insight into wealth was rooted in something the modern mind often misses. Money is not the root of power, it is the magnifying glass that shows what kind of power you already have. This is why lottery winners can become bankrupt within years, while disciplined entrepreneurs rebuild empires after losing everything. In Renaissance courts, Machiavelli observed newly elevated nobles who suddenly found themselves with treasure, and within months, they had squandered not just their fortune, but their influence. They mistook gold for respect and luxury for loyalty. But the cunning understood that wealth without the character to wield it is like a sword in the hands of a coward. It looks dangerous until the battle begins. In today's financial system, we see the same mistake play out with social media entrepreneurs flaunting quick riches, with executives inflating their lifestyle the moment they get a bonus, and with small investors risking all their savings on hype-driven opportunities. The system profits from these people because it knows one truth. Emotional attachment to wealth makes you predictable. The Machiavellian path is different. You separate your identity from your financial standing. You make decisions based on position, not on pride. Your account balance can rise or fall without altering your strategic focus. In this way, you are never truly inside the system. You are above it, observing it as a chessboard rather than living as one of its pieces. Rule 2. Visibility is vulnerability. The desire to display wealth is as old as wealth itself. In Machiavelli's Florence, nobles would host grand feasts, commission public art, and wear fabrics forbidden to the lower classes, not out of need, but to signal dominance. But every display was also a signal to rivals. Here is where my resources lie. The modern version is the curated Instagram life, the real estate brag, the press release announcing a major acquisition. But here's the danger. Every public display increases the number of people who can calculate your position. And in the financial system, knowledge is leverage. The moment someone can quantify your holdings, they can begin to strategize against them through lawsuits, audits, hostile takeovers, or even targeted persuasion. Machiavelli's strategy would be to live in such a way that no one outside your closest circle can truly measure your capacity. You may seem modest while holding substantial reserves in diversified, non-public assets. You may appear as if you're still building even when you've secured enough to live untouchably. This is not deception for ego's sake, it is camouflage for survival. The less the system can see, the less it can take aim at. The more it believes you are lesser, the more freedom you have to maneuver undetected. And in a world where financial predators move faster than ever, invisibility is more valuable than any single investment. Rule 3. If you don't control the terms, you don't control the wealth. Dependence is the golden chain of the financial system, heavy enough to hold you in place, beautiful enough that you'll wear it willingly. The system wants you to believe that because you earn your money, you own it. But as history and modern reality show, ownership in the system is conditional. Machiavelli knew that in politics, whoever controlled the purse controlled the policy. The same is true today, just in a subtler form. Your bank account is subject to rules you didn't write. Your investments are tied to markets you can't influence. Your employment can end with one restructuring meeting. The Machiavellian doesn't settle for this fragility. He builds financial fortresses, diversified income streams, so no single employer or client controls survival. Non-custodial assets, holdings that cannot be frozen without your consent. Off-system safety nets, stores of value not tied to the mainstream system's rules. The less dependent you are on a single flow of money, the less control the system has over your decisions. And once you reach the point where you can walk away from any income stream without fear, you've entered a rare category, the truly ungovernable individual in a system designed to govern everyone. Rule 4. Money is the most reliable test of loyalty. Machiavelli understood something about human nature that remains unchanged after centuries. The truest feelings emerge when money enters the picture. In diplomacy, he would watch alliances crumble the moment one side gained financial advantage. In court life, he saw friends become rivals as soon as inheritance or trade profits shifted. Today, the financial system serves as an even sharper testing ground. Promotions, contracts, funding rounds, all reveal more about a person's loyalty than years of conversation. But because money doesn't just provide opportunity, it forces choice. A person must decide between self-interest and allegiance, between immediate gain and long-term alliance. The Machiavellian uses this reality deliberately. He might offer a trusted associate a small but tempting equity stake in a venture to see if greed will make them push for more. He might intentionally introduce a situation where a peer's loyalty could be bought, just to see if someone tries. In the system, these small experiments prevent you from making large, irreversible mistakes with the wrong people. For you, this means structuring deals and partnerships in a way that lets you observe behavior before high stakes are involved. If someone fails the loyalty test when only small amounts are in play, they will almost certainly fail when the stakes are life-changing. Rule 5. The weak chase money, the strong control access to it. If you study the architecture of power, whether in Renaissance city-states or modern economies, you'll notice the same pattern. Those at the top rarely chase income directly. Instead, they build the structures through which income must pass. In Machiavelli's time, this meant controlling trade ports, agricultural estates, or tax rights. These were not glamorous assets, but they ensured that anyone wanting to prosper in the region had to interact with, and often pay, the controller. Today, this could mean owning distribution rights, intellectual property, or an exclusive platform. The key is positioning yourself not as another participant in the market, but as a necessary gatekeeper. For example, if you're in real estate, you might own the only property in a strategic location. If you're in business, you might control access to a unique client base. If you're in media, you might own the channel others must use to be heard. Once you control access, you control behavior. People will adjust their actions to stay in your good graces because losing access is more damaging than losing a transaction. The financial system cannot easily break this kind of power because it operates outside simple monetary exchange. It's rooted in scarcity and necessity. Rule 6. Let them think money is the prize. The financial system thrives on keeping people in a constant race for more. Pay raises, bonuses, incentive programs, all these are designed to keep you chasing without questioning who sets the track or owns the finish line. Machiavelli would see this for what it is, a distraction from the deeper game. He would never position himself where he was fighting for the same prize as the crowd. Instead, he'd stand back and observe who was most desperate for the win, then use that desperation to his advantage. Here's how this plays out in practice. You let others fight for the high-paying contract while you secure the supply chain they'll need to fulfill it. You let competitors slash prices to win customers while you quietly own the platform they're using to sell. You let others spend years building careers while you build the system their careers depend on. In each case, you appear less aggressive than the rest, yet you emerge with more control. The moment people see money as the end goal, they become predictable. Predictability is exploitable. A true Machiavellian allows the system to feed people these smaller wins while securing the position that decides where the game goes next. Rule 7. Use comfort to create control. In Machiavelli's time, rulers didn't just buy loyalty with gold, they bought it with stability. A courtier who enjoyed fine clothes, elaborate meals, and the security of a patron's protection would go to great lengths to preserve those comforts. The more pleasant the life, the more unbearable the thought of losing it. The modern financial system operates on this same principle. It offers you just enough to keep you content, but never so much that you could walk away. Salary increases, benefits packages, and lifestyle financing are designed to raise your standard of living in parallel with your dependents. That new car lease, that bigger house mortgage, that upgraded vacation, all of it ties you more tightly to the income stream that supports it. A Machiavellian strategist knows that comfort is a double-edged sword. Applied to others, it becomes a leash. Applied to oneself, it becomes a shackle. If you want to maintain freedom inside the financial system, you must build a lifestyle you enjoy but do not need. This means deliberately living below your maximum means, even when you could afford more. It means resisting the temptation to let your identity fuse with material luxuries. If you're in a position of power, leading a team, running a business, or managing partnerships, comfort can be a subtle but effective tool for influence. Provide benefits and privileges that feel personal and hard to replace. Then, without ever threatening, simply make them aware that these comforts exist because of the relationship. A missed benefit, a delayed upgrade, or a shift in attention is enough to reassert control without a single word about money. Rule 8. The rich aren't respected, they're measured. One of the cruelest truths Machiavelli understood is that wealth does not inspire genuine respect from equals or rivals. It inspires calculation. In the palaces of Florence, the moment someone displayed their wealth, other nobles would assess their weaknesses, their debts, their overreaches, their vanity, and decide how to exploit them. The modern world isn't much different. If you flaunt wealth publicly, you may receive admiration from strangers, but from serious players, you'll get analysis. Competitors will study your spending patterns to identify when you're over-leveraged. Governments will consider you a ripe target for additional taxation or regulation. Opportunists will invent reasons to sue you or sell you something. To truly outsmart the financial system, you must reject the urge to signal your success through consumption. Influence is a far more secure currency than visible luxury. A reputation for discipline, insight, and stability draws fewer predators than a public display of extravagance. Machiavelli's ideal is a person whose true capacity is known only in whispers, someone the system can never quite categorize, whose apparent modesty hides strategic reserves. When no one can measure you, no one can box you in. Rule 9. Master non-attachment. The financial system's ultimate weapon is fear, the fear of loss. It's what keeps millions in jobs they despise, what makes business owners accept unfair terms, what convinces investors to hold onto bad assets rather than face short-term discomfort. Machiavelli's approach to this was ruthless in its clarity. Prepare yourself so thoroughly that you could lose it all and rebuild without hesitation. This isn't about expecting loss. It's about eliminating the emotional hold the system has over you. Consider the difference between two entrepreneurs. One has built a lifestyle that requires every monthly dollar of their income. The other has structured their life so their essential needs are covered by just a fraction of their revenue. When a crisis hits, the first will compromise, negotiate badly, or even surrender control just to maintain stability. The second can walk away from a bad deal without hesitation. Non-attachment isn't about living without money, it's about living without needing any single stream, deal, or client to feel secure. It's about designing your position so that when the system pushes, you can resist without flinching. In that moment, the power dynamic flips. The system needs compliant players, and you have proven you are not one. Rule 10. He who controls the flow controls the frame. Throughout history, The power to allocate wealth has always outweighed the power to possess it. In Machiavelli's time, this principle was obvious. The king who decided where gold and land would go was far more influential than any noble who merely held a fortune. The flow of resources shaped loyalty, determined alliances, and crushed enemies without a single sword being drawn. Today, the principle is the same, but the battlefield is more complex. Money flows not just through treasuries, but through supply chains, software infrastructure, attention economies, and investment capital. The one who directs that flow, deciding who gets funded, who gets featured, who gets access, is the one who shapes the system itself. The Machiavellian understands that distribution is leverage. You don't need to threaten anyone when they know their survival depends on staying in your good graces. A contract delayed is a warning. A reallocation of resources is a punishment. And because you never need to say these things outright, they cannot accuse you of force. You are simply making business decisions. To outsmart the financial system, aim not to be the richest player in the game, but the one whose decisions determine who else gets rich. That positioning gives you influence far beyond the reach of your personal wealth. Rule 11. Never teach them the system. In every age, the most valuable knowledge is not the what, but the how. Machiavelli knew that if you gave away the mechanics of your power, you handed your rivals the tools to unseat you. This is why the most powerful families and guilds of Renaissance Italy closely guarded their trade secrets, financial networks, and diplomatic strategies. In the modern world, the temptation to share everything is greater than ever. The financial system even encourages this, pushing creators, entrepreneurs, and investors to reveal their blueprints in exchange for attention. But attention fades, and once your method is public, your advantage is gone. The Machiavellian alternative is selective disclosure. Give people results, but obscure the exact mechanisms. Offer enough insight to keep them dependent, but never enough for them to replicate you. This ensures that your position remains necessary, and necessity is the ultimate anchor of loyalty. In practice, this could mean keeping certain negotiation tactics to yourself, protecting proprietary algorithms, or maintaining private supplier relationships. Remember, a secret once told is a secret lost forever, and in the financial system, a lost secret is a lost fortress. Rule 12. When you give, attach invisible strings. Most people think of generosity as a one-way act. You give, and the other person benefits. Machiavelli saw it differently. In his eyes, generosity was a subtle form of investment, one that paid returns in loyalty, influence, and quiet compliance. The most effective form of giving is rare and precise. You don't flood someone with benefits until they take them for granted. Instead, you provide help at the exact moment they feel they cannot continue without it. This creates a deep psychological link. They don't just appreciate you, they remember you in a moment of vulnerability. That memory becomes a lever you can use later without ever mentioning the original act. In the financial system, this could be extending favorable payment terms to a struggling partner, covering a crucial expense for an ally at a critical moment, or providing exclusive access to a resource. The recipient will rarely speak of the debt they feel, but they will hesitate before crossing you. And if you've played it well, they'll defend you to others without you ever needing to ask. Rule 13. Build a life where money is present but silent. The ultimate goal of outsmarting the financial system is not endless accumulation. It is structural independence. True Machiavellian wealth is invisible to those who don't need to see it. You don't need to flaunt it because it is integrated into the architecture of your life. In such a position, you can make decisions entirely free from the pressures that bind most people. You can take risks without desperation. You can decline opportunities that others would scramble to secure. You can remain calm when markets crash, knowing your position was never reliant on the next quarter's performance. Machiavelli's endgame was not to be the loudest voice in the room, but the one who could leave the room without consequence. In the modern world, this means your wealth serves you silently, funding influence, security, and freedom without becoming your identity. When money is present but silent, you've removed yourself from the system's constant noise. You are no longer a participant in its distractions. You are a designer of your own arena. And that, more than any single number in your accounts, is the proof that you've outsmarted the financial system. Outsmarting the financial system the Machiavellian way. The financial system is not just a collection of banks, markets, and contracts. It is a living organism, self-correcting, self-protecting, and constantly evolving to keep the majority inside its architecture. It rewards compliance, punishes unpredictability, and distracts you with visible prizes while the real game plays out in shadows. Machiavelli would never advise you to beat the system in the sense of tearing it down. That's the fantasy of the amateur rebel. The seasoned strategist doesn't attack the castle walls head-on. He learns the guards' patterns, studies the supply routes, and finds the side door. He understands that systems survive by absorbing direct opposition but can be reshaped by those who quietly position themselves in control of the flow, the rules, and the dependencies. Over the course of these 13 rules, you've seen the Machiavellian financial strategy unfold. Detach your power from your possessions so that loss cannot shatter you. Hide your capacity so that rivals cannot calculate their strike. Control terms and access so that others bend to your conditions without being ordered. Test loyalty through money to see who stands with you when pressure rises. Position yourself as a gatekeeper, not a competitor. Let others chase illusions while you own the structure they depend on. Use comfort sparingly as both a gift and a leash. Reject public wealth displays that invite measurement and attack. Master non-attachment so you can walk away without fear. Direct the flow of value so your influence shapes the frame of the game. Keep your blueprint secret, feeding results without revealing your machinery. Give strategically so loyalty becomes an unspoken obligation. Let money serve silently, never overshadowing your identity or strategy. The difference between someone trapped in the financial system and someone who has outsmarted it is not simply a matter of net worth. It is a matter of structure. Most people build their wealth on foundations the system can touch. A single employer, a bank account dependent on regulations, an investment portfolio tied to centralized markets. Machiavellians diversify their position across layers the system cannot fully penetrate. History gives us endless examples. The merchant families of Florence, the Medici above all, did not just get rich, they made themselves indispensable to both the people and the rulers. In modern times, the true financial architects are not the celebrities flaunting yachts, but the quiet investors, fund managers, and platform owners who shape industries without stepping into the spotlight. If you want to live freely inside the system, you must stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an architect. Build what others need. Make yourself the source. Control your visibility. And above all, never let the system believe it fully understands you, because the moment it can define you, it can confine you. Machiavelli's genius was not that he played without rules, but that he understood the rules better than anyone else, and bent them until they served him. In the financial world, that means learning its mechanics so thoroughly that you can navigate them without being trapped by them. So the final question is not whether you can make money. The question is whether you can make money without being made by it. If you can, then you're not just surviving in the financial system, you've outsmarted it. And when you reach that level, you won't need to tell anyone. They'll feel it in the way you move, the way you speak, and the way you can say no, while others scramble for yes. That is real power. That is the Machiavellian way.